What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm CJ. This is Out of Bounds, and in today's video, we're going to do another NBA PrizePicks board breakdown for January 12th. It's just before noon here on the East Coast. Quick recap of last night. If you played Joel Embiid and took the over on him, you're probably a sad person like I am this morning. It was a matter of like going from $350 in profit to negative $10 in losses for me. So huge loss. It was unfortunate. Everybody else that I was on for the night hit their projections of overs and unders. Joel Embiid, I had 100% exposure to, and it did not go well. So word to the wise, don't be 100% exposed to any one player. More lessons we're learning along the way here on the channel as we continue throughout the NBA season playing PrizePicks. But some quick news to get into before we get into the projections. Big names that are out, obviously Kevin Love out. Tobias Harris, he's expected to be out. Ben Simmons, he's questionable with a knee injury. Kyrie Irving, he's out. Weird news with Kyrie. We don't know when Kyrie Irving is going to come back. Neither does his head coach, Steve Nash. Apparently there's videos surfacing of Kyrie Irving at parties without a mask on. And so, I don't know. Just a weird one. But Kyrie, he's kind of a weird cat, right? So, DeMar DeRozan, he's ruled out. Personal issues. Joel Embiid, he's questionable. He might rest on the second half of a back-to-back. John Wall's questionable with migraine headaches. Bam Adebayo, he's out due to health protocol. Jimmy Butler, he's out due to health protocols. Victor Oladipo is questionable. He might be rested on the second half of a back-to-back as well. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, both questionable for the Lakers. I'd be surprised if they both sit. I don't know that that's happened at all this season. Usually one or two of the guys play, so I wouldn't expect both of them to sit. But that's just a quick rundown of some of the big names on the slate that we need to worry about. Going over to PrizePicks here, they do have this Miami-Philadelphia game on the board, although I don't have projections. Yeah, I don't have projections on Roto Grinders for this game, so I'm going to skip over that one. I know some of you guys were interested in like Joel Embiid or Maxey, but we'll skip over that game and go to the next one, which starts with Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets big man. He's facing off against the Brooklyn Nets tonight. 7:40 p.m. is tip-off. 51 points seems kind of low, just right off the top of the dome here for Nikola Jokic, but let's see how the various sites like Joker tonight. He's projected as an over on Roto Grinders. By the way, we use Roto Grinders, Fantasy Pros, and RotoWire projections. We have them preloaded with FanDuel scoring because FanDuel and PrizePicks, they score exactly the same for NBA. So over on Jokic there. Jokic is over here on Fantasy Pros, and finally Jokic on RotoWire is a slight over at 51. So a lot of overs there for Jokic. Not major overs, but enough to get us interested. So his last couple of games have been down games, 45.5, 39.8. But you go back to 3 and 4 games ago, 60 and 70 points for Joker. And then a couple more where he's down in that mid 40 range and then pops back up here to 52, 69. So it's been a bit of an up or down season for Nikola Jokic. We know what the big man can do when he's out on the floor playing big minutes. Some of these games where he's down, he's not getting as much run. 29 minutes, 30 minutes here. When he's out on the floor, dude is a monster. He's a monster from a fantasy point per minute standpoint. 1.55 fantasy points per minute. So if the game stays close and he's out there getting a full run of minutes, you can almost bet your bottom dollar that 51 points is easy for him to go over. Looking at tonight's totals, this game is projected to stay close. 115.75 for Brooklyn, 115.25 for Denver. So no serious threat of a blowout here, which is good news for Jokic. We look at the matchup here. He is a versatile big man. And Brooklyn's kind of been middle of the road, middle of the pack at defending versatile bigs. So I really like this spot for Nikola Jokic. I think this is one where he can go over his projection of 51 points tonight. On the other side of the ball, some people in the Discord channel. By the way, if you haven't joined the Discord, link in the description below for the Discord. Totally free for you to sign up. That's where all the PrizePicks talk goes down. Kevin Durant, 47 points, though. I know a couple of you guys in the Discord had mentioned KD's name, liking the over on KD. They did raise his projection up just a little bit. He was at like the 45 range. He's now at 47 tonight. So let's see how the various sites like Kevin Durant. Wow, guys, 52 is his projection on Roto Grinders. Love to see that. Of course, we like Roto Grinders projections a little more than these other sites because they're dynamic. They update throughout the day. So as PrizePicks changes their scoring, Roto Grinders, they change their projections as well too. So Kevin Durant, they like him as a slight under over on Fantasy Pros. And finally, RotoWire, they like KD at 47.84. That's high enough for me to round up to 48 for Durant. Of course, no Kyrie Irving, as we talked about at the top of the show. He'll be out for at least the next 3 games. And when he's out, somebody's got to pick it up for Brooklyn, and that somebody is Kevin Durant, who, after missing 3 games in a row, came back really super solid and strong for Brooklyn, playing almost 38 minutes. 54 fantasy points, guys. 54 fantasy points in his last game. This will be his first matchup against Denver. We don't have a previous game log of KD versus the Nuggets, so not quite sure what to expect there. What we can look at, though, is Brooklyn is expected to score 115.75 points, which is one of the healthiest totals for any team on the slate. Actually, it's the top. They're expected to score more points than any team on the slate, so you love to see that. He's a versatile forward. The Denver Nuggets haven't done a great job defending against versatile forwards, ranking 22nd in the association against that type of player. And you love the fantasy points per minute for Kevin Durant, 1.37. So that's well over the gold standard of 1 fantasy point per minute. I love it. I love it, guys. I think everything's lining up for Kevin Durant to go over the projection of 47. I don't see how he doesn't. Game's going to stay close. It's a very friendly matchup, and he's the top dog there without Kyrie in the lineup. So gotta love that. Let's talk Caris LeVert, because he's another interesting play as long as Kyrie's out of the lineup. Caris LeVert at 35.5 is super interesting to me. We know Caris LeVert, when he gets major run, is a 40-plus PrizePicks point type of guy. So 35.5 seems awfully light on LeVert, but let's see what the other sites think about that. Boom. There you go, right off the top. Roto Grinders coming in hot with a 38.77. That's high enough for me to round to 39. 39 for LeVert, so a big over for Caris LeVert. Fantasy Pros, they've got him a bit lower at 30.3. Kind of weird. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I trust that. And then here we go again over on the wire. They've got him at over 40. And that's kind of the upside that I see with Caris LeVert as long as Kyrie Irving is out of the lineup. And we'll go to the game logs. I think it'll tell more of the story for us. So his last game was a bit of a down one. He did play over 35 minutes. Only managed 32.8 fantasy points. But the game before that, 53, 50, 36, 28, 15, 25. Of course, Kyrie was in for, I believe, a majority of these games, if not all of them. So when Caris plays 35-plus minutes, guys, he does pretty well most of the time. 53, the 32.8 was a little bit of a disappointment. Here we go back, 38 minutes, 61 fantasy points there. So dude's got big-time upside. If he's going to be out on the floor, I love me some Caris LeVert over 35.5. We've already talked about Brooklyn's going to score a ton of points. We've already talked about this game's going to stay close according to Vegas. And we've talked about what a fantasy point per minute monster Caris LeVert has been this season. 1.26 fantasy points per minute for LeVert. Gotta love that. Matchup is a little tough. It's a little tough. Scoring wings against the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are 5th in the league against scoring wing type of players, but I'm not going to let that slow me down. I'm not going to let that stop me. I really like Caris LeVert for the over at 35.5 points. One of you guys in the Discord, I think you mentioned Allen. I hope you meant Jared Allen for the Brooklyn Nets. let's tackle him real quick since you're curious, and I'm a little curious as well. I think I took the over the other night whenever Kyrie was ruled out for Brooklyn on Jarrett Allen, and he came up a bit short. There was a few minutes left in the fourth, but Brooklyn was down by so much. They pulled Jarrett Allen out of the game. They went with a smaller scoring lineup, and I think Allen would have definitely got there because this dude can put up some points on a per-minute basis. He's projected for 29 minutes tonight. Roto Grinders has him at just over 30 fantasy points. Let's go over to Fantasy Pros. They have him down at 26, so they seem to be a bit lower on some of these Brooklyn net guys. And then finally, The Wire, they've got him at slightly over 33 points projected for tonight. Cracking open the game logs for Jarrett Allen, 28.5 in his last game, 32.2, 32.7, 57.1, monster game, and then 39.2. So his minutes, I would say, were up with Kyrie out of the lineup last game. This isn't a guy that you're going to get a lot of points from in the scoring department. In other words, he doesn't score a lot of real-life points, where Jarrett Allen does most of his damage is on the glass. As you can see here, 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds, 18 rebounds, 11 rebounds. He even picks up some assists in some games, 6, 3. Most of the time, though, he's down in the single-digit range, 1, assists. So he's not a point guard. He's not Magic Johnson or somebody. But he does get a lot of block shots. So those rebounds and those block shots, and you add in a couple of steals, Jarrett Allen can rack up the fantasy points really, really quick. And I mentioned that his fantasy points per minute was a healthy one, 1.22 fantasy points per minute, which puts him in like the top 5 on the slate tonight as far as centers go. So you love to see that. The game's going to stay close. I expect that they'll need Jarrett Allen's services against Nikola Jokic tonight. I do worry about maybe him getting in foul trouble, guarding Jokic. So that could be a little bit tricky, something to think about. But post bigs versus Denver have done pretty well this season. Denver only ranks 19th against that type of player. So there you have it for whoever asked for Jarrett Allen in the Discord. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but that's the breakdown for Allen. Moving right along here, enough of that game. Let's talk about the next one. We got the Utah Jazz, and they're taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Battle of two of the better big men in the league, Rudy Gobert versus Andre Drummond. I know some of you guys asked about this matchup. My notes here, we've got Drummond listed. You guys want to know about Drummond. You guys want to know about Gobert. So let's start with the big Frenchman. Rudy Gobert projected tonight at 40. Roto Grinders has him right at 40 as well. If we go over to the other site here, Fantasy Pros, they like a slight under on Gobert. They have him at, we'll call it 39. And then finally, The Wire likes Gobert as a slight over. Gobert hasn't been a guy that I've clicked on much this season. He's been somebody that has been kind of tricky to figure out. And so most nights I just fade him. I don't even look his way. Looking at his game logs here, they've had him on PrizePicks around that 40 mark. It seems like every single night he's been 40, at least lately. In his last few games, though, 36.3, 38.8. So those would be unders for tonight's projection. 45.2 would be a healthy over, 33, 41, 30, 39. So you can see guys that like the mid to upper 30s, creeping into the 40s in some games. This guy doesn't have a huge ceiling. 44, 45. I mean, that's the highest totals that he's put up on a fantasy point per basis. There's another guy, almost like a rich man's Jarrett Allen, who doesn't make his living scoring real life points. He's a rebounder. He's a shot blocker. He gets some of those other stats as well. He's projected for 33 minutes tonight, which, again, this is one of those games that you have to be on the lookout for a blowout here because Utah is a huge favorite against Cleveland, 108 to 97.5. So if Utah does get up and run away from this game, run away from Cleveland in this game, then I don't like Rudy Gobert to go over. I would honestly probably, looking at the game logs and stuff, go under on Gobert. He's a post big. And Cleveland hasn't been good against post bigs, ranking just 27th in the league with a healthy 1.28 fantasy points per minute for Gobert. But Guys, you got to pay attention to these blowouts. They can help you, and they can also hurt you. Last night, it hurt us when we played Joel Embiid over. We expected Embiid to, the game to stay closer than it did. I didn't expect a 30-point blowout for Philadelphia, but yeah, we gotta try and think a little deeper, a little more carefully about these spreads and these totals. This is one where, most of these guys who are projected at like 40, especially with a guy like Gobert who's went under 40 so many times this season. I like the under here for Gobert. So I hope that helps you out there. Andre Drummond, 44. They've been flirting with Andre Drummond in that 44 to 46 point range lately. He's a tricky one to figure out, guys, but I think Andre's starting to kind of level out. And I think he's starting to become someone that we can figure out on a night-to-night basis. Swig of water for the working man. He's projected for 47, we'll call it, over on Roto Grinders. Over on Fantasy Pros, they've got him at 43.5. And then over on The Wire, they've got him at 51.2. Huge over on Drummond tonight. Let's open up the game logs. Drummond's last few games, 45.3, 59.3. So those would both be games where he would go over tonight's projection. 44.5, even that is a slight over on the 44 he's projected for tonight. And then we talked about some of his previous game logs where he's went well under 40. So bit of an up and down season for Drummond, right? But it looks like as of late, he's been a little bit more trustworthy. We know what to expect. 40, 45, up into 50 or more. And we know he's got tremendous upside when he's out there getting a full run of minutes. But as we talked about with Gobert, this game is expected to blow out. And if that's the case, Cleveland's not going to run Andre Drummond out there in the fourth quarter in garbage time. It's just not going to happen. He's a post big. Utah ranks 12th. Obviously, Gobert's a great defender. So this is going to be a battle in the paint for Andre Drummond and Rudy Gobert. He's on a back-to-back 3 games and 4 nights for Drummond. 1.46 fantasy points per minute, one of the best fantasy points per minute averages in all of the league, regardless of position. So that's how I feel about Drummond. I'm probably going under on both Gobert and on Drummond. I just don't know that they are going to play enough minutes to really hit the totals that they have them for out on PrizePicks. On to the next game, we've got King James. He cost me the other night. He was projected at 48, just like he is tonight. He's facing off against the Houston Rockets. Got to pay attention to that news. If Anthony Davis is out, I like LeBron a little bit more, but I liked LeBron a little bit more the other night when Anthony Davis was out, and it didn't work out for me. So let's see what the sites feel tonight is an appropriate projection for LeBron. 47.37. That will put him under his PrizePicks projection. Over on Fantasy Pros, 51.5. So they love the over, as they always seem to do with LeBron and AD. They always like to go super high on their projections on Fantasy Pros. 41.99 over on RotoWire. So there's this polarization on the different sites happening with the projections for LeBron James. Some have him really low at like 42. Some have him super high at like 52. So what do we do? What do we do with LeBron James? That's a good question. Game logs, 40.9 in his last one, 42.9 in the one before that, 48.2 here. So, I mean, it looked like he was starting to kind of find his groove and hit his stride, right? 56, 50, 50, 48. And then, he's been regressing over his last 3 games. The last game that he played was against Houston. So we do have something to look at here. He played a total of 30 minutes, not a very high, healthy number of minutes for a superstar with a projection of like 48, 50 points like LeBron James, and only managed that 40.9 points. So this game tonight is projected to be somewhat close here, about a 5-point spread. Lakers as about 5-point favorites, 5.5-point favorites against the Rockets. Versatile forwards against the Houston Rockets have done well this season, the Rockets ranking just 19th against that type of player. And LeBron, he's one of the best in the league as far as fantasy points per minute. So I don't think there's going to be a blowout here, but I am concerned with some of the recent game logs for LeBron James. I don't know if he can hit that 48-point mark for us. So I might just fade or take the under, but that's up to you guys. James Harden, the other side of this game, 51. We've talked about it in previous videos. The projections for Harden have slowly crept down to the lower 50 range. The last couple of times that Harden's been out on the PrizePicks board, 51 seems to be appropriate for him. They've been sticking at that 51 mark. Let's see where they like him across the different sites here. 49, so they like a healthy under for for James Harden, not LeBron James. 55.5, so that would be quite a healthy over on James Harden. And then finally, 44.74. So same thing with LeBron, guys. These sites are just torn. They don't know, if he's going to be way over or way under, and maybe the John Wall news has something to do with that. So something to keep in mind. If John Wall is out, I love the over for James Harden, but that's a big, big if. Let's look at his game logs. 39.7, 41.5, 42.8, 43.6. If John Wall plays, I like the under on James Harden based on recent performances. But if John Wall is out, man, this could be a good spot for James Harden to return to that 20 field goal attempt type of projection performances that he's had in the past without Wall in the lineup to start the season. So that's the big thing that I think the over-under is hinging on for James Harden. Is Wall in or is Wall out? You got to pay attention to that news. But in this particular matchup, combo guards versus the Lakers. Lakers rank 12th against combo guard type players like James Harden. Harden's got a 1.33 fantasy points per minute average. Just spectacular, guys. There's nothing that we need to say about James Harden here. Unfortunately, right now, he's just sharing the ball with so many other people. John Wall and Christian Wood and DeMarcus Cousins. And so there you have it for Harden. Take the over if Wall is out. Take the under if Wall is in. That's how I feel about this one. We're going to talk about Anthony Davis real quick. 48, another guy who's projected to possibly miss tonight's game. He's questionable at the moment with an adductor strain. He's been playing through it, though, so there's a good chance he does get in the lineup tonight. They like the under on Roto Grinders, 47 points on AD. AD over on Fantasy Pros. As has been the case today, they love LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Super over on both of those guys. And then over on RotoWire, Anthony Davis, 42.68. So we're all over the place again with another one of these big name guys. The last few games, 40 points. He missed the one against the Bulls. 50 here, 58, 44, 59, and so on. You see the rest. His last game against Houston, 40.3 in just under 30 minutes of game time. So we would like to see Anthony Davis out on the floor more. When he's out on the floor, he does put up a healthy 1.35 fantasy points per minute. We love to see that. The total here, the Lakers are expected to score 113 plus points as a team, and versatile bigs versus Houston have done pretty well. Houston just 23rd in the league against versatile bigs. So Anthony Davis, another one of those weird, situations where the various sites are torn on him, and you got to make a decision there on him. Let's talk about SGA, another guy that you guys in the Discord have questions on. He's projected for 38 tonight. Let's take a look at where they like him across the different sites. I think I read that a lot of you like the over on SGA's projection. Well, this would agree with you. 40.63. Let's round it up to 41 for SGA on Roto Grinders. Over on Fantasy Pros, 43.6. They like the over on SGA as well. And then SGA on the wire, they have him at just 38. So that puts him slightly over. So Over seems to be the theme for SGA tonight. Let's look at his game logs. 55, 47, 53. You got to love that. You got to love what you're seeing out of SGA recently. Well over that 38-point projection for tonight in his last 3 games. He started off the season kind of quiet, kind of slow, right, guys? Look at these game logs. Ugly, ugly, ugly. 24, 34, 22. But as of late, the dude is balling out. He's always had a healthy number of field goal attempts, which, as you know, is the quickest way to hit a fantasy point projection, scoring real life buckets. Not only that, but he's been getting to the free throw line. He's been rebounding the ball. He's been dropping dimes, chalk up some steals here and there, some blocks here and there. And you got to love what you're seeing recently for SGA. This game, if we look at the totals here, it's expected to stay close. OKC is a slight underdog, 108.5 versus San Antonio at 110.5. San Antonio, they're expected to be without DeMar DeRozan. So, yeah, this game should stay close without a high-profile player like DeRozan in the lineup. SGA is a combo guard, and San Antonio hasn't done a great job against combo guards this season, ranking just 17th against that type of player. And SGA's fantasy points per minute are at 1.19 on the season. So, again, over that 1.0 mark is always a good thing for SGA. Guys, I think I'm in agreement with you. I think based on recent game logs and recent productivity from SGA, I like SGA. You guys really like SGA. So what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? We're going to go ahead and take the over on SGA, make him our lock of the night. The locks have been coming up short night in and night out for the last few days. Let's hope SGA turns it around for us, though. Another guy that you guys really like to talk about is Kelton Johnson. I know some of you in the Discord are really, really high on Kelton Johnson, and for good reason. He's been putting up some major numbers. Kelton Johnson, without DeMar DeRozan in the lineup tonight, is super interesting at just 32. Looking at his projection on RotoGrinder, they like a slight over on Kelton. Over on Fantasy Pros, Kelton Johnson is at 20. We got to throw that one out the window, guys. If Kelton Johnson is held to just 20 fantasy points, I quit. I ain't playing no more. 33.13 over on Fantasy Pros, so they like a slight over on Kelton Johnson. Let's take a look at the recent game logs. He's been a bit up or down, hard to trust. 22.9, 36.8, 12.4, 31.2, so a bit up and down for Kelton Johnson. No previous game logs against Oklahoma City. His first time matching up with them. Let's look across the board here. He's projected for 33 minutes tonight. The San Antonio Spurs are only projected to score 110.5 points as a team. He is considered a scoring wing, and Oklahoma City's ranked 15th against scoring wings this season. He falls a bit short, just 0.95 fantasy points per minute, so kind of ugly, but I do expect that to go up without DeMar DeRozan in the lineup tonight. So let's say it bumps up to 1 fantasy point per minute, and he's projected to play 33 minutes. Well, that would put him at 33 PrizePicks points, which leads me to take a slight over on Kelton Johnson. If you're thinking about playing Kelton Johnson, take the over. LaMarcus Aldridge, another guy that should benefit tonight without DeMar DeRozan in the lineup. That was another mention that you guys had for me in the Discord this morning, so thank you for that. LaMarcus Aldridge, getting up there in years, maybe not the same player that he used to be, but he's still productive on any given night. So let's look at the projections for LMA. They like him for almost 35 over on RotoGrinders. Over on Fantasy Pros, they've got LMA for 34, so right in that 34-35 window. And then finally, LaMarcus Aldridge is projected for 34.65. So all the sites agree, guys. They have him at like 34 to 35, 34 and a half. I mean, he's like right in that range. So 36 isn't like a ridiculous number, one that I feel completely like like satisfied of taking the under on. I don't know that we want to take the under on LMA, but maybe the game logs will tell us a little different story of his recent performances. 37.8, 24, 37, 26. It's a roller coaster ride, up and down, right? Now, if you're going to tell me he's going to play 35, 36 minutes tonight, I like the over without DeMar DeRozan. What do they have him projected to play tonight? They've got him at 32, so they're not thinking he's going to hit 36 minutes in this one. So that's a little concerning. San Antonio's only projected to score 110, like we talked about with Kelton Johnson. He's a versatile big, and Oklahoma City has done a pretty good job against versatile bigs this season, ranking 7th against that type of player. And again, LaMarcus Aldridge, he's not at that gold standard of 1 fantasy point per minute or more. So unfortunately, it makes it difficult for me to trust that he goes over this 36. I think I'm leaning toward the under on LMA, guys. I think I'm taking the under on LMA. Yeah, let's move on to the next game. We've got the Indiana Pacers versus the Golden State Warriors. Domantas Sabonis, we've talked a lot about him lately. I'd like to skip over him and talk about Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon, 44.5. Haven't discussed Brogdon a whole lot on the channel this season. Let's take a look and see where they like Malcolm tonight. 43.58. Let's round that up to 44, which would still be a slight under on Brogdon. 36.3 on pros. They like the big under on Brogdon. And then finally, 44 over on RotoWire for Brogdon. So that would still be just a slight under the 44.5. Let's take a look at his recent game logs. Brogdon, he's been a fantasy point per minute beast in the past. This season, he's had some great games. As of late, though, 43.3, 40.7. Then you got 55.9, 57.9, 52.1. Here's how I'm feeling about Brogdon. There's a chance Victor Oladipo is rested tonight, as we talked about at the top of the show. It is a back-to-back for the Indiana Pacers. Brogdon last night against Sacramento, 43.3. He did play nearly 38 minutes. This dude gets a ton of minutes. There was games here where he was getting 41, 45 minutes, 39. I mean, you're telling me he's going to get upper 30 to like 40 minutes a game? I love that for Brogdon. I love him out on the floor, working to get us some fantasy points. They got him projected for 38 minutes tonight against Golden State. This game is projected to stay pretty close. The spread is only 3 points, guys. I'm not afraid of a blowout here. I love the healthy minute total for Brogdon. He's a combo guard. Combo guards, not the easiest matchup against Golden State. As we mentioned, he's on a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 nights, and he averages well over 1 fantasy point per minute at 1.16 fantasy points. So if that's not enough to convince you on the over for Malcolm Brogdon, combined with his game logs, combined with the game total, well, I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm feeling the over on Malcolm tonight. One last guy, I think someone mentioned Kelly Oubre in the chat, in the Discord chat. Kelly Oubre projected for 24. Oubre struggled to start the season. 24, that might just be a little too low on Oubre. Let's take a look at how the various sites like Oubre. They like a slight over on Oubre. We'll call that 25. It's over the 24.5 mark, so we can round that one up. Kelly Oubre over on Fantasy Pros, 29.8, almost 30 points on Fantasy Pros, so big over there. And then finally, Kelly Oubre is at 24.38. So 2 of the sites have him pretty much right on the money compared to PrizePicks, around that 24-point projection. How has he done recently? Well, 25.7 in his last one. That would be good for an over tonight. But then look at the last 2 games prior to that one, 12 and 15. And then he goes back up, 33, 31, back down, 15. So what do you guys want to do with Kelly Oubre? I mean, he's like a coin flip any given night, right? I mean, we look at his minutes, 29 minutes. Love to see that. 29 minutes led to 25.7 points. But then look, 21 and 24 led to 12 points and 15 points. He gets back over 25 minutes, goes for 33. Over 32 minutes, almost 33 minutes here, 31. There's a definite correlation here. When the guy plays 25 to 30 minutes, he's out there getting you fantasy points. But they've got him projected at 28 minutes tonight, which isn't bad. Not bad. That's a good, healthy amount of minutes for a guy like Kelly Oubre. They're expected to score 114 plus points. He's a scoring wing, and scoring wings against Indiana have done really well. They rank just 20th against scoring wings. But I don't love the fantasy points per minute for Oubre. 0.86. Well short of the 1.0 that we're looking for when we roster somebody on PrizePicks, especially if you want to take the over on Kelly Oubre. It's hard to trust him when he's just at 0.86 fantasy points per minute. So I'm probably leaning under on Oubre at 24, but it'll be close. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If there's anybody I didn't cover that you want me to go in depth on, go into the Discord, send me their name. I don't mind digging a little deeper. It's a small slate tonight. I should have plenty of time to go over the guys that maybe we missed or that we didn't get a chance to talk about. So definitely send me a message in Discord. And also drop a comment below. Who's your lock of the night? If you don't like my lock of the night, maybe you've got a better lock. My locks, they've been coming up short night in and night out. So I'm always looking for a lock. Maybe you guys can put me on somebody. Leave that down in the comment section below. I love to read those comments. I love to see who you're on tonight. Let's go for 10 likes again. Think we could do it? I'm taking the over on 10 likes. You guys crushed it yesterday. Let's do 10 likes. I think we can get there. That's going to be it for today, guys. This has been CJ for Out of Bounds. Share this video with the entire world, and let's go get some money. Peace.